Sweeping Swords, the Convalescence Agonies, the second full length by New York Death Doom duo. Mike, how did you find out about this? Because you kind of put me onto this.
I think I was just looking at albums that have coming out and saw the band name and thought, "I'll look at that." Word of advice though, if you are Googling them, do put bands or something at the end of it because I made that mistake a minute ago and
Really,
yeah, never really want to look
like
at the photos unless that's your
like,
sort of thing.
like Blue Waffle all over again.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh
Right,
god,
this is what a great start to the
it's a
episode.
mental image.
Welcome to the Crypt of Wax. We review the latest kind of metal releases, but what we do here is we kind of discuss records rather than review them in a way. But we listen to them individually and don't ever really talk about what we kind of feel about the record going into the show. So it's kind of more a discussion about it that way. So this is a melancholy death doom as described by their Bandcamp. How do you feel about this one, Mike?
Do you know what, man? I thought this was fucking amazing. Like, I could safely say this is going to be one of my albums of the year.
Really, I thought you'd be all over this one.
Fucking hell, man! I mean, what did you think? I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, I'm in this. I'm in the same boat. It was just to start. It was one of the most unique records I've heard in a while.
Yeah,
Like Death Doom can be done in such a kind of samey kind of way, but there
is
was
this
just some.
Death Doom? There's a
Yeah,
Doom.
for sure.
What I mean is that there's the Doom element. Okay, sorry. Do you know what? I'm liking it to say something like a funeral Doom thing because it's not. It's not. It's actually got a lot of pace and mix up of paces on this. Sorry, I'm thinking of it more in the sense of like a slower funeral Doom kind of thing. But whereas
But
this
that,
is
but
good.
that, but that exists in this record as well. There are some very,
It does, but there's a lot of pace and stuff in here as well. You've got
yeah,
blasts and things like that, and there's a lot going on.
yeah. Okay, Death Doom is maybe quite reductive in a way. It's you do have the really like. Yeah, it's they inject pace in the perfect places, but then they have such slow crushing moments as well. It's
Oh,
just, but when I say unique, like it's not, it's it's so
carry
hard to
on.
describe
Put
without
your
being
words
able
out,
to
mate.
like. It's so hard to describe without having heard this record. How you could describe its unique, like the production is very unique.
Yeah,
The drum sound initially was very weird to me, but when you have the whole record on from start to finish, it just works really well. The same with the guitar sounds as well. It's like a lot of clarity, but still sounds very muddy at the same time.
it's
But
crushing, isn't it? The guitar sound.
it is, and it works with their sound overall. So like, let's just jump straight on in. I guess track one. I think track one had the kind of the weirder verses, right, where you had everything dropped out and you had this kind of like cello going with like this slow beat, and they had these kind of vocals that were like anguish, despair, very throaty, almost quite like hardcore in or like post-hardcore in that sense,
Yeah.
weren't they? But they don't really revisit that style throughout the album, do they?
No, I actually think the first song, as good as it is, doesn't really. The rest of the I'd say the rest of the album from tracks 3 onwards are quite different to the
Yeah,
first 2 songs.
yeah,
The fact that like when I listened to it first of all, I thought, oh, this is like a post metal album kind of thing. You had that kind of that anguish vocal in the verses, and it was actually structurally quite simple in that sense. You had the big
yeah,
riff, then it would drop down, then then the big riff again, and then actually towards the end of it, you then had it when it picked up the pace at the end. That was when I was like, oh fucking hell, I'm like
yeah.
I'm interested in this because it then suddenly stops. The guitar speed up. It goes in on these really fast blast beats. Um, I don't know if I can't remember if they do it to the end, but no, they don't. They don't. They then kind of bring back in the slower riffs towards the end, don't they? As well.
Yes, and that slower riff had like tones of like
Oh,
pallbearer warning, that kind of like funeral in the sorrowfulness of it, but was so crushing and so heavy.
reminded me of Asunder. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But when they yeah, so like that blasted section at the end, when they and then they go back into the opening riff to kind of tie it all back together, but they slow it down
Yeah.
right at the very end and they put these synths over it. I think these kind of like organy synths. I could have heard that for another 10 minutes, that section, but they just do it enough to be like, oh,
Tease
okay.
ya.
Yeah, they really did. One and I guess one thing I want to say about this record is that they don't it doesn't go from like bit to bit to bit. I feel that they let the songs flow. I feel like
Mm.
they almost kind of jam out the album and everything flows, and there are some riffs in isolation that maybe sound weird, but when you hear them all in their slight transitions and their subtlety, it works like so well, man.
I think what they do really well on this is, because there's I don't want to say there's an element of chaos to it, because it's got that kind of proggy kind of weirdness and stuff in timings and bits and pieces like that. Often with bands like that, you find that they don't stick on sections for too long. They just they'll be moving through all these different ideas. Whereas I think these guys write these complex, really cool ideas, and they give them time for you to really enjoy them.
Yeah,
And they
and
work within those bits of development as they go on in the song, instead of having
yeah,
to like go through a million different sections to show how technically proficient and stuff they are in
yeah,
doing that. And I think that makes a hell of a lot of difference to the enjoyment of this album. And the songs are
absolutely.
long, but they don't feel long because the sections are so good that you want to hear them. You want to hear that bit there for 2 minutes, just that whole bit, and then
Yeah.
before they move on to the next part.
Yeah, and they're really good at like tying in and changing subtle bits, like bringing stuff back, but then slightly tweaking it, and then they interject a lot of like cello as well in a few songs, which just adds to that layer of like sorrow. And I
Yeah.
guess maybe that's where the kind of funeral doom aspect is kind of pulled in. Oh,
Could you hear that?
I can hear that. Yeah, you got more people in your basement.
They're trying to sort of drill their way out.
Yeah, man. Like track 1 and 2.
I don't, by the
Okay.
way. Sorry,
Oh,
this is a different ep, John. So, like, I've got people working in my house. Like, it's
go
not.
back, go back and listen to Obsidian Tongue episode,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we
you'll
didn't do the one
understand the
after the other.
reference. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You one thing, the overarching of this record is each song sounds really different, even though
Mm.
it's like deaf, reductively deaf doom. Like each track had its own flavor, and I that's what I really enjoyed about this record. It wasn't like, oh, which track 1 sounds a lot like track 3, or this, that, and the other, but like each one had its really distinct like part and feel, and I think that just added a lot to the whole like journey of this record.
Well, I think by the time you got to track 3, I was. You were then like, oh, this album's gonna kind of go more death metal than just the kind of death doom, like kind of. I don't say mashup. Do you know what I mean? Like it's it's not it's not like just going to be like death metal with the growl over kind of the
Yeah,
slower doomy riffs. They are going to like bring in double kick parts, more blast beats. It's going to go down that kind of way. And what was the song that was my highlight? There was a song that was fucking incredible. Track 4, Pleading for the Scythe. Well, I just thought was fucking unbelievable, man. One of the best things I've heard in ages.
yeah. So with that one, uh, I think that was the most. I don't when I say straight, I don't mean like boring, but like it was probably the most straight death doom song on the record. Like,
Yeah.
um, but I feel like the album needed that at that point because you'd had the kind of variations of different sounds. So when you got to that song, there was like just so much power behind it. Some of the chord progressions in the riffs were really
Oh,
like
fuck.
they were
Yeah, I
like
wrote.
really like high on fire. They reminded me
Yeah.
of, and then you had some like proper death metal sections, like blast beats where he like smashes the bell on the ride. Great solos in it. Like that song was incredible.
Yeah, that solo at the end was fucking amazing. And then
Yeah,
they did like a harmony over it at one point. It's like a weird harmony that sort of came in over the end of the solo as well. And it was
Well,
this album to me just kind of I, I really like track one, but I felt like and track two was a bit. I don't want to say nothingy. It wasn't, but it wasn't. It was more slightly more interlude wasn't it, than the rest of the songs. It was shorter. I think it was it instrumental. I can't remember if there were vocals on it.
oh, I haven't actually got any vocal notes on there, but I think there were. But yeah, you're 100% right. Like track one was not bad, but it was a very different. I don't know. The album just moves a lot.
Right, I'm
Um,
going to be honest here, John. Can I be honest?
yeah, go on.
Right, so I only listened to this album in its entirety for the first time just before we recorded,
Love that.
and when I first checked out and sent it to John, I listened to tracks. I only had a chance to listen to tracks one and two,
Oh
and
bloody hell!
I know. So I wasn't. I thought it was I thought it was cool, but I wasn't like enamored with it and assumed
You
that I
didn't
was
know
going to
what
be
was
getting.
coming.
I thought I was going to get more of the same
Yeah,
going through. So when I listened to it like about an hour ago and it got to track three, I was like, "Fucking hell, what?" Like
yeah,
it, and then it kind of blew my mind that I wasn't expecting it to go in
yeah,
that direction and to be as good as it was going to be. Um,
yeah.
I had actually listened to their other band, Pyron, before, um, who are a very technical kind of death metal sort of band, and with a lot shorter songs, and vocally a bit different as well. But this is better. This is a better record than the one I heard by Pyron.
It's it's so it's just I've not really heard anything like it, to be honest. It's that you've got so many different influences. Like track three really reminded me of like Yob in some
Yeah,
places. But then at the end you had this kind of like the double kick coming. It was just I can't really describe it, man, which is terrible for a music description episode. But like, it's something that you have to really experience. And it's like five tracks, but the journey that it goes on is really quite remarkable. I really like the last song as well. There were so many subtle little changes that kind of moved sections. Like for example, there was a at 140 there was a kind of snare roll that took the kind of main section into this like really cool beat, and there's like stuff like that peppered throughout that over on first listen you probably might wash over it, but then like the more you listen to it you were like, hang on, that was actually really technical, but it was done in such a subtle way that it was just it didn't feel it, if that makes sense.
there was a bit in that last song. It's about 9 minutes where it comes back in, and it's so heavy.
Yeah, I've got
And
that in my notes. 9 minutes.
fucking hell.
It
And
was. It
also,
reminded me of Mastodon, like
yeah,
really early Mastodon. It had groove,
yeah.
but it was super heavy at the same time.
And there was a great bit, the very end, like with the organ that kind of came in
Yeah,
over the
yeah.
ending part as well, and it just sort of faded out with that on there. And it was, honestly, John, I think I think this is probably my album of the year for the so far.
So far,
This and
damn.
Scimitar.
Okay, yeah. Scimitar, definitely. Damn, that's high praise, man. It's this is definitely one of the most unique records I've heard of the year.
Yeah.
I think I need to spend a lot more time with it to see where it's going to sit at the end of the
But I
year.
think
But
you
like,
will. I think you will.
yeah,
And that's testament to it. Like you
yeah,
saying it, I mean, often we might say that sort of thing, but then you end up because we're listening to other new albums coming out. You end up it just gets lost, and you don't go back to it. You don't maybe have it quite in you that you really do actually want to go back and give it a lot more time. But this album
yeah.
is like, I can't wait to listen to this again.
Yeah, it's definitely got that appeal, hasn't it? I think if you're gonna check this out, like make sure you do the whole thing. Don't like do track one and be maybe I don't want to say put off because it's it's not going to put you off, but like track one is just so different, isn't it, to the rest of the record? I think give the whole thing time because it's one of those records that you can't put your finger on, but there's something just undeniably amazing about it.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Amazing. John, should we wrap up? Because I think I heard someone shout my name from downstairs.
Listen,
Again, not a
if you
captive in my house.
no, just getting work done. If you like what you heard, give us a like and a subscribe. Let us know if you heard this record, man. What you think of it, because yeah, like we said, it's crazy. And yeah, we put out videos every Wednesday and Friday covering the latest metal releases. So give us a follow if that's what you're into, and we'll catch you in the next one.